everybody, good morning. Welcome back. This is our second Monday of the week. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied hands and brain, Justin. We've just updated Justin's status. As far as I'm concerned, he's just hands and a brain now. Like, he's fading, man. He's just fading. Hey, guys. How's it going? How is everybody? How is your Tuesday going? How was your Monday? Are you happy to be over with it? Hey, and tomorrow is St. Patty's Day. Is anybody planning anything fun for St. Patty's Day? Hey, Rignus. Hello, everybody. Hey, GVD. Digging out of the snow. Oh, gosh, you got more snow. Oof. I'm all right. It's an all right day. It was one of those hard to wake up mornings because I screwed up my sleep schedule having to get up early for my doctor appointment yesterday. Hello, Hustling Horton. Colorado. Ah, I see. Okay, yeah. Then you do get snow in March, don't you? Fairly frequently. Oh, boy. Let's just get some colors mixed while we chat. So I'm making corned beef and cabbage for David tomorrow. And for me, of course, because leftovers. Reubens, right? Reuben sandwiches. Yeah, I post on my Discord usually, Val, and I told Justin and John, so it should have been on the Reaper social media. Always double. If I'm not going to be on, I post on my Discord. So the easiest way to do it is just go, if you're on my Discord, and my Patreon, or you can go to just Reaper's Twitter. It should be on there. I always make sure to tell both Justin and John, since John is our social media expert. All right, let's see here. We were making gold by mixing purple and yellow, as I recall. Let's see here. Yeah. All right. I made notes of what I was doing. Isn't that smart of me? I think that's pretty smart of me. That's right. We were using Runic and Lantern, my two favorite colors, to create weird effects with. Yes, Val, but I have to tell people how to find out that I'm not going to be on. This is an opportunity to tell them, hey, dudes, if you don't see me on in the morning, check the social medias. And chances are it will tell you if there is a thing, or if I am just late for some reason. I shouldn't be, but you never know. There have been weirder things. Sure. Let's see. I reclaimed my brown liner and promptly lost it. There it is. We were working with a shadow that was based around Runic purple and brown liner, which makes some people go, but it is actually. Mixing brown liner with purples, especially reddish purples, is a pretty good strat, actually. Pretty good. Let's see here. Then we got a... I see. I moved up. Yep. That's right. Just looking at my transitions here, because we had to create some colors that were like brown. Hey, thanks for the resub, Carrie. Fantastic. Thank you so much. That starts out our morning, right? Am I right? Anybody else doing fun stuff for St. Patty's, or are you just like kind of like staying in and chilling out? All right, let's see here. And then I think I was doing 4-1. Just doing things, starting to mix up my shadows. Cooking, painting, and napping. Wednesday's a work day. Yeah, it is, but I plan to set up the, I'll have to get up just a tad early so I can set up the corned beef in the slow cooker, i.e. Instant Pot, disguised as a slow cooker. No one in the family likes corned beef? Yeah, shepherd's pie or cottage pie works. I do like corned beef. Like, I only make it once a year. David regularly has corned beef or pastrami for sandwiches. Oh, right. This was our beautiful brown that we made. This was actually the color I liked a little bit more. And I think I want to add a little bit more brown liner to this to make it darker so I can get my true darks in. Because remember, you need a lot of contrast for metal. So we need a little bit more contrast here. So I'm going to do a 1-to-1 Runic and brown liner there. Darken it down a little bit. There we go. Now I've got a nice dark color. That'll be good for our lining and shadowing. Shadowing. Yeah, it's a little bit too high calorie for me. Several times a year I went splat, but dang, it's good. I used to have it a lot more often because I loved Rubens. I still love Rubens. And we have all the ingredients. And I'm planning on making some Irish soda bread too, because and that's like total violation of my gluten-free diet, but you know, once a year. And it's really tasty. I have a really good recipe. All right, so Runic and Lantern 1-to-1 is our next thing. As we're working up to be able to do these colors, I want to block in essentially the shadows and essentially the richness of the color, this sunrise kind of look on all the rest of the gold today. And I want to get all the rest of the gold filled in so that I can kind of judge if I'm repeating it enough different places around the model. And I need to figure out what this bracelet's going to be. It's either going to be kind of like a magenta pink, like these guys I think are going to go a purpley pink. Or it's going to go gold, and I haven't decided yet. In order to decide, I need to look at where the gold is repeated elsewhere on the model. That's the important thing at this point. Oh. Just add a little bit of water, yeah. Just like Deborah says, Rebecca. I usually add, like, you can also add our flow improver a little bit, but you don't really need to. The other thing I might mention, Rebecca, is heat up the water before you add it. Actually, hotter water, not boiling or anything, but, you know, like warmer water has more molecular action. It'll just mix a little bit, like, it's probably incrementally faster. It's just a habit I got into because it seemed to help. But I always use when I'm mixing in water, if I'm adding in, like, and I would add more than 1 or 2 drops. If your paints are really thick, I'd add 10 drops easy. So it depends on how thick they are. But if they've been sitting for a few years, definitely. The other thing that doesn't hurt is to add extra agitator strength if you have beads or bits of like sprue or whatever. But sprue bits can sometimes come back to bite you. But they're mostly tin these days, so they shouldn't oxidize. All right, let's see here. What was it? Oh, yes, a 1-to-1 of these 2 colors. 10-year-old, yeah, they're going to be pretty thick then. I would definitely add at least 10 drops of water. Pretty much add 10. See if you can shake them. You may want to use a toothpick or something to stir them up a little bit if they're really goopy. Just to let the water kind of get down to the bottom and to get that plug moving again. That's what I tend to do if I've got a really old paint I need to resuscitate. There. So we'll get our colors down. Sorry, Jeannie, you're going to have to give way for the palette. The power of the palette. It probably doesn't matter greatly, Rebecca. It's just a little thing that I thought might increase quality of life with reconstituting paints on the warm water. I mean, hot water does have like a higher molecular action like going on. So I figured it couldn't hurt. Something I do. All right, then we've got our nice medium brown made by mixing purple and yellow, which is weird unless you understand pigments, but it works. Trust me on this. It's a weird brownie color, brownie orangey color, but it's technically a brown. So why are we getting brown with this? Is to make a nice brown, you pretty much want a decent load of some sort of yellow, and then you want some red to make it orange, right? Because remember, all browns are muted oranges. So we've got a lot of red because runic purple is a very red purple. And then you need something to add that will mute the color. So it will essentially work against those 2 colors and not mix nicely with them. And usually that's another brown, or it's a black, or it's blue, which is obviously in purple. So the blue in the runic, you can tell a little of it there is by how little brown we've gone. We're still pretty orange. So that's a bit of pigment lesson for you there. So yeah, you can totally mix like people talk about mixing skin tones with red, yellow, and blue. You totally can. Absolutely. Red, yellow, blue, and white. If you can overshake MSP. No, because you can't physically shake it faster than the original like turbine that was shaking it to get it into solution. Like, you as a human cannot, the centrifuge they put it in, the integrator, the mixer, the giant mixer that they put paint in that spins and goes super fast, like super, super fast, much faster than you as a human can ever go, is what puts makes everything go together. Like, if you shake a bottle of lemon juice and olive oil, you will be able to make it into an emulsion just with your human strength. But you cannot do that with your human strength with paint. It takes machinery to do that, because resin particles and water don't want to be an emulsion together. They really don't. So you have to convince them. So no, you cannot overshake Reaper paint. Right, Valandar, but I'd still challenge you to do it at as high a speed as a giant industrial mixer. So you'll get it even more in solution, like, unless you actually make it hot. If it gets hot, then stop. If you pick up your bottle and it's warm, stop. That's all I can say, but I really seriously doubt it, guys. Like, to get resin and water to emulsify, you have to go at such a high speed. Like, it's not equipped. Like, we would have had to buy a super special mixer. Like, our industrial mixers, which are, you know, they go pretty fast. I would say they probably go as fast as a Vortex. I don't know. I'd have to look at the Vortex, but my guess is, you know, it's still not going to be even close. Yeah, I mean, you just gotta think about emulsions like salad dressing, and think about emulsions like paint. Like, lemon juice and olive oil kind of like each other. They don't need a whole lot of convincing to get together. But, you know, or balsamic vinegar and olive oil, they're like, yeah, okay, cool. But, you know, when you try to make plastic mix with water, that's gonna take a little bit of work. No matter how many nice surfactants you have in there, trying to get them to play nicely together. So yeah, I mean, all hail the Vortex mixer, I guess. I don't know, but I've never used one. I just shake. But yeah, I mean, if you have like wrists that hurt and stuff like that, like, get a shaker by all means. I'm like, my wrists are okay, so I don't do it. Olive Shadow. Olive Shadow, remind me, what item number is that? Olive Shadow or Troll Shadow? What item number was it, Zombie Dog? Or is it Olive Drab Shadow? Like, there's a lot of olivey shadow colors, and I don't think there's anything called olive. Is there Olive Shadow? If you give me the item number, I'll remember what it is, though. SKU. If somebody can help him. Oh, okay, so, yeah. Alright, so that's the olive, I think it's the Olive Drab Shadow. Boy, that's gonna be a rough one. I would probably just add a brown, like, oh, it's a browned out olive. So I'd almost take Muddy Olive 9034 and is that the right name? Yeah, 9034, and maybe add like some Shield Brown to it, 9161. But what you need to do is essentially drop the saturation of the green. And I don't have that color, so like right here with me, so I can't like say for sure. You may want to use Driftwood Brown instead if it's really dark. I can't remember how dark the Olive Drab Shadow is. Yeah. But I mean, the short answer, Zombie Dog, if you want to brown it out, is just to mix a brown and an olive. Take an olive, figure out which olive is closest. Either, I don't think it's going to be Troll. I don't think Troll Hide is going to be the closest. It's a little bit, well, maybe. I mean, you'd have to really brown it out. Troll Hide's pretty intense. Muddy Olive is a little more muted. You may get more mileage with the Muddy Olive. I love Muddy Olive as a color, so, you know, I kind of feel like, let me see, where is my Shield Brown? So that's Shield. Well, let's do an experiment with Troll, because I have Troll here. Because we're here to help, right, everybody? So, Troll Flesh is, oh, that's Orc. I reached for a Troll and I got an Orc instead. Oh, because my Orc is sitting over on the side, that's why. My Orc is actually out where it'll be useful. Because I use it all the time. There. Alright, so that's close to Muddy Olive. So, looking at those. Zombie Dog, this stream is about derailing. Did you not get that? Did they not warn you? We don't stick to one topic on this show. I answer everybody's questions. That's why it's always added value. Always added value. Yeah, but people like you, Zombie, are the reason that I always told Ed not to cancel colors. It's because, you know, some person out there is gonna have their Space Marine army, or their Eldar army, or their whatever army in this color. Trust me. Alright, so we're doing a mix. So yeah, olive drab is just really brown or grayed out. We may have to add a drop of gray to this. Let's see here. Yeah, but this is what I do, like Zombie. Don't feel bad about it. This is what I do. I mean, if nothing else, if we actually manage to reconstruct this for you, like, you know, like, toss us a sub. Alright, so that's browned out our green a lot. Now it's more of a greenish brown. Now I'm going to pop in a gray. And I think I want a fairly dark gray because you're talking olive drab shadow. So I'm kind of thinking I want stormy gray if I can find it. I've got cloudy. I thought I had stormy in here. I'm not seeing my stormy gray. I know I have carbon. That's not quite dark enough. I'm going to try cloudy and see. I don't think it's going to be quite dark enough, though. I had stormy in here, and then I might have tossed it into my box. Yeah, you could also just use olive drab with walnut declearman. That might work, although I'll tell you, the walnut's going to overpower that sucker so fast. I wasn't sure if the rest of the triad was still in existence. See, this is the problem, guys, with canceling odd numbers out of triads, is that a lot of those weird shadow or highlight colors might not be very good sellers, but they are an integral part of the triads. So when you lose that color, then suddenly you have to, like, mix something. It's a lot more annoying. All right, so mixing in a bit of gray. We're getting close. Yeah, I'd say that's maybe needs to be, I was right, it needed to be like stormy gray or carbon to get just a tad darker. But you got to be careful with our blacks and our walnut. Remember, when adding those colors, you've got to be real careful because they're really powerful. They're going to give you a major, major pump. Yeah, only shadow is, No, there are a lot of colors I don't have on my desk because I don't work with olive drabs. Olive drab is, I've worked with it once. I've worked with olive drab triad once. It is very hard to find good colors to go with it other than red and orange. So I just added a drop of brown liner. Yeah, this is really getting close. Like, you get the idea, right, dog? It's like, it's really just a bit of a brown, a bit of a gray, and then you mess with it till you get it close. I mean, you're probably not going to be able to match it perfect. You can also do what D. Clearman suggested, just start with olive drab and go with a bit of walnut. Walnut has brown and black in it. That may succeed in dropping it to a point where you can work with it, but be really careful because walnut has a huge pigment load in, and high solids at that. It's going to pack a huge punch and wipe out your green. So, I mean, I would try a tiny bit of it with like 4 drops of olive drab if you do that. Yeah, if you use the khakis and the olives, obviously the military colors, they all go together. They also go with gray really well. Medium to light grays, they go with red and orange really well. Then you start running into color problems, though. So it's like, when you have a nice, like Space Marines makes sense to use, right? Because then you can, you've got a fairly limited number of things you need to paint, and you usually can drop to like neutrals if you have to. Like if you need to paint the gun body black, you can, right? And silver is gonna obviously be a neutral, and stuff like that. Yeah, this is really close, actually. I just popped a tiny bit of brown liner in there. Whenever I want to darken a color in line with kind of being like walnut, but I don't want to completely overwhelm it, I often will use brown liner instead because the black in brown liner is a little bit weaker. That's why it's a more translucent color. And so it won't overwhelm the color. But I'd say this is really getting close. So, yeah. Yeah. A lot of the Cav line is more military type colors. But yeah. But I mean, so I would say you could get to, there are many ways you could get to that olive shadow, to be frank, Zombie. It's a little bit of gray and a little bit of brown into your green. And if you're starting with olive drab, you won't need to really gray or brown it out. You probably just need to darken it. But yeah, like that. I mean, I just pretty much mixed it just by throwing crap together. So, and that to repeat what I used, it was 9455, 9161, and I honestly would use Stormy Gray. I used Cloudy, but Stormy would have gotten me there faster. Stormy is 90, 87, A7, A5, 90, A5, or no. I'm losing it. It's crazy talk. Misty is 90, 89. I'm losing it, guys. Stormy Gray, whatever the heck that color is. 88. That's it. 88. 90, 88. But the other problem, though, with just mixing an exact match is just that often with those colors, like I'm using little increments of stuff, like little increments of black, just to titch it just a little bit farther. So you may not be able to find a perfect match, but you'll be able to find close. Just kind of Reaper kind of yell at Ed. Shh, I didn't say that. Tell him you needed that olive drab shadow, damn it. But yeah, so that pretty much like that. Like I said, that's all I ask in return is that you like talk up our show and tell people how cool we are. That's all. Anne was willing to derail her entire genie just because I needed olive drab shadow. That's right. It's the way I roll. There we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, trust D. Clearman to have every single Master Series paint so he can, like, be our index. Alright, here. Classes time! Boop! And then I gotta look up my next color, because we're just being crazy. Alright, so then we're starting to go up to Lantern and non-metallic gold highlight. Which is my usual. That's what that is. So 4 drops of this, I think, and 1 of Lantern. If GW stopped making Space Marines, like, I'd be like, what? Did somebody blow up GW headquarters? Like, what happened? Like, Games Workshop would never stop making Space Marines. Unless, of course, they had all the money. Sorry, we've taken all your money. I guess we have to stop. Although I'm not a Space Marine player, so technically they do not have all the money, and they never will. So they will never stop. I'm a filthy Xenos player when I play, so just because I was never all about guys in armor. All right, there we go, and then I think we went up to I'll need a white eventually, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'll mix it when I need it. Exactly, Jabberwock. It's true though. Like it is two sides of that. Those are the two sides of the coin, right? Is like you can mix everything yourself, but why should you if you don't have to? And some colors, as I mentioned, I mix with very small increments of certain pigments to nail them, which makes it extremely hard for you guys to nail them unless, you'll essentially get close usually. There are usually many ways, if it's a muted color like Olive Drab Shadow, there are usually many ways to get there. You may, however, notice that you don't get quite as good coverage, or maybe you just end up a little darker, or maybe you end up just a titch greener, not quite as brown. You'll see small things, and that's because when I'm mixing, or when I was mixing, you're mixing in a 1 gallon formula, many bottles. And so when you break down the fact that I maybe use 2/48 of an ounce of black pigment to perfectly nail this color, and then you try to break that 2/48 of an ounce into 500 bottles, yeah, not so much. It's hard. So there are some colors that you will find hard to mix. And I'll tell you, Peacock Green was a beast to match even when I was mixing it in big gallons. So Peacock Green is one of those weird Weird colors, although you can get close with brilliant green plus clear blue or void blue. Close. I don't know. One of these days I'm going to run out of one of my go-to colors. I'm just putting a second base coat on this. Oh, we need to get in the thing, and we need to get on the thing, and we need to, you know, kind of be useful today. There we go. Hey, Cool Pack, thanks for the resub. Ooh, 2 months. Yay! It's a tiny resub. It's fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, there are some colors that are very difficult to mix. Good, Fubeka. That's the way it should be. It is, mixing colors is cool. And what I find is that I have like a drawer with about 80 to 100 MSPs in it, and those are the colors that I reach for all the time. And then I mix everything else from those. And if your core like that, if you have a core, if your core is very mixable, then you can. Like, I tend not to put really muted colors in my drawer unless, oh no, I got yellow on her boob at some point last stream, and I bet I can't scrub it off. It's too long. It's too set in its ways. I'll just have to get out my ultramarine and paint over. Where am I? Nope, that's not it. Where did my ultramarine shadow go? Do I have it out here? Yeah, I do. Because I was going to use it on something else. Splat, the sample is never a published paint. The sample is a sample because it's essentially a color that went wrong. It's something that we tried to mix and messed up. Or it's something that's Sadie playing with colors. Either way, it is not a color in general release. Never. Like, the only time I think they have been a color in general release is if something got mislabeled to an extent where it was difficult to relabel, and they just decided to say no, just put a sample label on it and put it out, because it would have been, you know, ugly relabeled, not a nice product. That would be the exception. Hey, Big Apple. Yes, she is a great sculpt. I am playing with, I'm trying to touch up stuff right now. So I'm just trying to get my ultramarine shadow to go just a little higher so that I can touch up that boob, her bodysuit, her one-piece battle thong, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, a lot of the oopses are beautiful. Sometimes they become real colors. I went splat. Like, if it's something where we, where Sadie or I just, you know, kind of, oh, I put blue in instead of black. Something like that. If it's just a no-brainer where we got distracted by Ed coming into the department to talk. And then we just made a simple switch up. Then it's very easy to reverse engineer what we did and create an actual formula from it. But sometimes if it's a real oops, you just can't. You don't know where you went wrong. And so there's no recreating it and making it a real color. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of samples that are gorgeous colors. Often if we do know the formula but it doesn't get made into a real color, the answer is usually that's too close to a different color. Peacock Green is amazing. Yeah. Peacock Green is like a darker green. It's got a very heavy front load of blue in it. And it's really, really, really saturated. So it's really highly pigmented. And it's also very, it's got high chroma, which means it's very bright, very vibrant. The only thing I tend to use it on is verdigris. I love it for bronze verdigris. I don't think there's a better color. Like, there are colors that I can sub in, but they're not as good. All right, there I touched up that. Yeah, I'm sure Sadie will try to mix something that's similar, right? Like if there's a lot of outcry on a cancellation, usually what I used to do or what Sadie used to do is try to make something that's close the next time we need a new color. It won't be an exact match, likely. The other thing we tended to do was to, pardon me while I paint these bracelets. The other thing we tend to do is to put out Peacock Green like as a special edition, like during ReaperCon or something. Just do a one batch and order it now or forever hold your peace. Rex, that's the interaction of any yellow and any black. That's how you get olive drab. Like, that's just the way that black and yellow... If you ever remember when you were a baby painter, putting a black wash over everything, including yellow, and then your yellow went green, that's why. That's the way those two pigments interact. There are several pigment interactions out there in the world that make weird interactions that you would never think. But that is one of them. That is just what happens. It doesn't matter what yellow, and it generally doesn't matter what black, although if your black has other pigments in it, that will shift it. But, I mean, I can make green with an orangey yellow or a greeny yellow or an ochre yellow. It'll just give me a different kind of green. This is why I always tell you, nope, there are not blue pigments in the black Chibi Amy. That is absolutely incorrect. No, no, no. This is purely what happens when you mix yellow and black. It creates an interaction between the two colors visually that say green. I can show you the other weird one. I think I've showed this on stream before. One second. There are two really weird ones with industrial pigments. Ah, there we go. Oh, no, that's Runic Glow. Where's my clear magenta? Dang it. I don't need Runic Glow. I need clear magenta. There. The other weird one is the red and green make blue. Let's see, where is a good color for this? Maybe Tianzia will work. Phthalo green is the real way to do this. We'll see if Tianzia is gonna be good enough, because I don't have my clear bag right with me. But yes, there are just some reactions that happen that don't make sense. It's usually either visual or chemical, or it's a little bit of both, but it's visual for the most part. Red and green make blue. True. It's a true. I don't know if Tianzia is going to do it, though. It's got a little bit of yellow in it. We'll see if I can get it to work. Ideally, you use pure pigments for this one. Don't need a chemistry set, just need MSP. Oh, yeah, that'll work. Ta-da! Red and green make blue. Ta-da! It's a pretty blue, too. It just doesn't cover worth anything, and it's really weak. It's really fugitive. It's a pretty color. What are you saying, gross? It's beautiful. It's a beautiful blue-gray. Well, yeah, that's because when you put violet red in there, you were adding other pigments, Valandar. It's just, fugitive isn't really the right color, but it's really weak. Like, the weakness of a pigment is how easily it's overwhelmed. And this is an extremely easily overwhelmed pigment mix, because the phthalo and the Queen of Credone are both so very, just fine grind. And so if you add white, it bleaches it out super fast. But, except, guys, these are the only two you have to worry about. And you really don't have to worry about the phthalo and magenta one, because that's not something you're normally going to mix. Whereas, see, when I add white, it bleaches it out so fast. That was one tiny drop of white. And yet it looks like I added 2 drops of white. So it's a color it's a pigment interaction that I don't usually use because it's just too weak. I can mix a blue-gray that's far better coverage. And usually when I'm going for a blue-gray, I'm looking for coverage out the gate. So, yeah, exactly. When you learn these tricks, you can get away with a limited palette and make some very interesting... I actually used this... I'm using a limited palette on one of my coaching projects right now, and I used it to mix a gray. I used red and green to make a blue-gray. And I was not going to use any blue on the model, but if I could mix it, I was going to use it. So I used that. Dabra, that was if you ordered, I think, over 12 bottles, they would consider making a gallon. But yeah, Val, the one that you have to worry about is just like yellow and black. And I bring this up all the time because when you working with a really yellow color, like say polished leather, you need to not add black to shade it because it will go green. I talk about this a lot with NMM as well. So let's get back to work. Thank you, Quindy. There's the link to ordering out-of-print paints. Oh, I missed that scale on her. She's got scales under her arms, too. I guess if you need underarm protection, scale mail under your arms. It just sounds so uncomfortable, though. Like, when you put your arms down, like, how does that feel? Hello, Riso. Yep. Reaper Paint Channel. For the most part, our shows are about painting. I do the morning shift. I'm Anne. I still work for Reaper, although I used to work full-time and created their paint line, Master Series. So we were just talking about weird chemical paint experiments and mixing colors to get odd results. We go off topic a lot on this stream because I pretty much answer any question you ask about paint and painting. I have a great many years as a professional painter under my belt, and I have won awards. Not that that matters much. Winning awards just means you're a decent painter and you traveled. Well, not really. I guess I did go up against some of the big names of the day, but it was a long time ago. I haven't won anything like recently other than gold at ReaperCon. I guess I have to take that back. I did win a gold at KublaCon. And that's quite a feat, apparently. Because they judge tough. All right, so we've got our yellows and our golds. Because armor is stylin', Big Apple. That's my guess. Except it's not side boob protection. See? No armor on the side boob. Purely armpit. Purely armpit. Anyway, I'm going to go block in the rest of our gold here. Unfortunately, I thinned this, and I shouldn't have thinned it so much. I think I'm going to go back and thicken it up a little bit. It's because I, just always reflexively thin things to, 2-to-1 these days. But then when I want to actually base coat something, it kind of backfires. So we'll just do another mix. When I've thinned something too much, the answer is to put another 4 drops of NMM Gold and another 1 drop of Lantern Yellow into it. Hey, Greggy, thank you for the... Hey, and it's your subiversary? Yay! Happy subiversary, happy subiversary, happy subiversary, happy subiversary for Gergie. Yeah, armpit jewelry. Yep. Well, she is a genie. She can be that weird. Nobody's really going to call her on it, except me. There we go. Now I have a much thicker paint, more suitable for base coating. And we are 4 minutes to the stretch break. Maybe she's got it under her hair too. She's got back armor or something to match her front diamond armor. I don't know. It's Bobby Jackson's fault. He's the one who gave her clothes. This is not metallics. No metallic on Earth would have this. Okay, actually, maybe one. This is NMM being mixed with, by mixing purple and yellow, Gergie. So all these colors are made by mixing purple and yellow. So all my NMM here is made by mixing purple and yellow. Because she's a genie, so I wanted to do something weird and otherworldly with her NMM. I didn't want to use the same old, same old. I wanted something kind of ethereal and dawn-like. So that is why we are NMMing with purple and gold. Purple and yellow, I should say. And the only way you can get really weird NMM colors, or metal colors, is usually by NMM. you can do a few more tricks that way. Metallics are always going to look pretty solid, like metal, and I didn't want to do that to this character, since she's made of air. I figured her her armor would be very likely to be magical. So, yeah, everybody's jumping on the flat colors line, Val. Like it took paint companies years to figure out that traditional artists were moving toward hobby paints because they were more matte. So now they are finally catching up to the curve. Shows you how long it takes a traditional art company to notice a trend. Like, Wayne Reynolds has been using our paint to paint his canvases for at least 12 years, I think. 10 to 12 years. And he is not the only one. The fact is that, like, the hobby painting market is far larger than the traditional art market, I think, in some ways. And even traditional artists, quote unquote, are gravitating toward, if they're doing like illustration work or illustrative work, like book covers and stuff like that, the hobby paints actually work great on canvas for that. You don't have to mess around with constantly thinning your tube paint down. And you have a whole huge selection of colors to choose from. As we were just talking about, it's like you can mix everything, but if you're trying to, actually do work in the field, you don't want to lose time. So it makes sense that many traditional artists are gravitating toward our type of paint. Need to touch that up just a tad, and touch that up just a tad. It's nice that I have my blue mixed right now. Yeah. Evelina, this is a doc cam. It's a very, very nice document camera. I used a doc cam for the first time when I was still at Reaper, and they have an older series one, so essentially I liked it enough that I went home and Google searched for a new technology one. So I used the IPEVO VZX, which is my favoriteest thing in all the world because it lets me get really close and detailed on the model, so people can actually see my brushstrokes and stuff. I always hated using a webcam because fixing the focus on it is such a pain in the butt. This has a button right on its stalk that lets me refocus, zoom in, zoom out, and fix focus like in seconds, and without having to open up my computer. So it's like a $350 doc cam. So not recommended unless you're like making, thinking you might go into this as like a side gig probably, but or a real job, as I've made it. But if you are looking to produce quality miniatures video for YouTube or whatever, I'd say this is the only choice, having worked with webcams and hated them. Webcams are just not meant to do this sort of thing. My face cam is a webcam, so like high face cam, but it doesn't have to like worry about micro focusing and getting super high res close in. Whereas my miniatures camera, if I want to go that close and then focus so you can see all the brush strokes, I can. Webcam ain't going to do that. Not in 2 seconds. Wow, I do get some color shift if I do that, unless I drop my fingers out of the frame. But yeah, so I love this thing, and if it died, I would like pay the extra money to get another one instantly. No questions. Even though now they're going for much more because COVID made teachers have to teach online, and so everybody ran out and bought one. So there was actually a shortage of document cameras, of good document cameras, during COVID. Like the price on this IPEVO went from $350 on up to $600 or more for a while there. And IPEVO itself is still out of stock. You may be able to find them on Amazon for more. Yeah. Cadmium for the yellow. For coverage, probably. D. Clareman. Webcams have gone up too. Yeah, I believe it. War Shadow. A lot of people started streaming, or just like teachers also needed a face cam, right? And if they didn't need a doc cam, then a webcam will work if you're like demonstrating something on a board or a slate in your hand. Just gonna block in some of this gold stuff back here under her hair. I've gone long enough without blocking in all my gold stuff, so got to make sure it's all there so I know how much more to add. So the point of blocking all this in at once is not just the fact that we have the color mixed up and we should do it. It's also so I can see the composition, the color composition of the piece. Boop. So, 19 months. Nomad Zeke, awesome. That's okay. It's been, well, I don't know. We've been derailed several times today, but the derailments have been fun info, so it's all good. So, what I have to look at is the incidence of yellow and how much yellow I've got going on. She has a shoulder pad up here that I found that I had to block in yellow last time. She's got yellow here and yellow here and yellow there and there and there and there. So we've got kind of a nice V of yellow. This all kind of counts as yellow. And then we've got a little dot of it. I decided to make the center of the flowers yellow to drag the eye up to her hair. When you've got a warm, light color like this, the human eye is going to want to focus on it. So if I don't want everybody staring at her stomach, which I really don't, I need to put a little bit of highlight on yellow up here as well, which is why that shoulder pad actually works pretty well, as do the little top of the boob bangles that are attaching her one piece. But a little bit more yellow is not a bad idea in this case. It also helps. I'm going to make her hair pale, and the detail of her face, the high level of detail of her face, is also going to help attract the eye. So think about this thing. Yellow is a good eye attractor. The warmer and lighter a color, usually the more it pulls the eye. And then if you can put it in a cluster of tight detail, like the face or these flowers, then you get even more attention from the human eye. The human eye likes contrast is why, and tight clusters of detail tend to be high contrast. Just putting a second coat on this shoulder pad. So when you are looking at your colors, make sure you are spreading them out around the model. And also look at the fact that I'm going to be making the lamp this color, right? So that will make a complete, if we go out and zoom out enough to look at the complete model, then we'll have most of our clusters here where we need them, because you mostly want to be looking at her, but then the eye should also pop down to this eventually, to the little lamp. Because you might think she was an air elemental until suddenly you notice she's coming out of a lamp, and then you know she's a genie. I'm going to put yellow on here even though I'm in danger of rubbing it off because it's down by the edge. Normally I'd paint this probably last, since it is at a very handleable place, and thus it is prone to rub off. But I'll put it down there just to illustrate the point. So now when you look at the entire model, your eyes go to the warm colors, and then they pop back down to the little lamp. Hello, Dakafang. How's it going? Yep, Shadow Raven. There's a lamp. She's a genie. Of course there's a lamp. And now I gotta get the spout of that little lamp. Why a lamp has a spout, I don't know. Maybe it's a teapot. I'm starting to think that everybody's in teapots. Genies are not actually in lamps. This is obviously a teapot. There we go. Get that all in. Oh, hey, and it's stretch time. Stretch time! I didn't set my little alarm, but it is 10:27, which means it is time to get up and stretch, which is good. I will put this coat on, and then we will let it dry. Touch it up a little bit underneath. I missed a spot. There we go. All right. Color composition. Remember, repeat your colors around the model, folks. Yep, 1, 2, 3, and stretch. Let's stretch. Stretch time. I'm going to get my drawer out of the way here. If you've been sitting for longer than half an hour, please get up and stretch. Your body will thank you. It's the only thing that keeps my back going through these streams. Take off the glasses. Do not need the glasses to stretch. Yep, you could take that analogy far, far, farther than I want to, with the genies coming from various things. But yeah, the Silicon Valley genie would definitely come from a Starbucks mug. Stretch. Oh my gosh. Oh, I needed that stretch. Oh dear. You want to lean back a bit and stretch your back out a little. Never, ever, ever use a jerking motion, Decafang. That will hurt your back. But yeah. Oh, doggy. I have to look out my window and see the pretty doggy. It's even a shepherd. Reminds me of the Kiri dog. It's definitely a German shepherd, though. I like seeing all the, no doubt, no doubt. I would say most gamers are, Daka. Sadly. All of our strengths come from our mighty brains and our painting and gaming mojo. Yep, shepherd. Yep. German lines, DDR shepherd, if I miss my guess. But then I've got too much dog knowledge. Too much dog knowledge. Alright, gonna do some yoga, cat cows, and then I will be back. There we go. Spinal flexions for the win. Yeah, painting tips and dogs. You are right. Man, how is that guy like... Okay, I just saw somebody come from the swimming pool. He's walking across the parking lot. Keep in mind it was 36 degrees this morning, guys. I'm like, dude in the swim trunks walking across the parking lot without his towel wrapped around him going like this? I don't know. Weird people. Imagine the cat the size of a cow. Hey, Rex. Yes, the clock's changed. It's true, Cornico. Shorts weather where you live. Yeah, well, it's Wisconsin shorts weather, too. Where I used to live and never ever will again thanks to that weather. Everybody hydrate. All right. Oh. Cows the size of cats are far cuter, no doubt. Alrighty. What else do we have? When we're looking around, we're seeing it's pretty good. The only other place... Well, actually, technically, this little tie thing that's holding these tassels together is probably gold. And then the only other thing we could make gold if we decided we wanted it compositionally is this little frill at the bottom of this. And I think actually that's a pretty good idea. Again, we're repeating colors around the figure. You never want all your light and brights to be all in the same place. There. And that should be pretty good. And I may decide against that in the future if I decide I don't like it, but right now I'm liking it, so we're just going to go for it. All right, there we go. We have mapped out our colors, our yellow around the figure. Now we have a solid kind of a trail of yellow bouncing around, which is good. You get your hour of sleep back next fall. Ugh. That's weird, Griggy. Yeah, Arizona just does the shift. I have my parents spend the winter there. Oh, dark by 4 p.m. is terrible, Kuroniko. How do you survive? Yeah. I don't mind daylight savings time. I especially like it. I like the spring one even because it means that it stays light longer, and that to me says summer is coming, and that makes me happy. It means that warm weather is coming. I really like it being lighter in the evening. I can't wait for us to be able to like eat out on our patio again. I really enjoy that. So yeah, that just means that it's gonna get closer to where I need it. Mostly with alcohol, yes. All right, let's get a little closer here and let's start doing some shading. I just have a couple of touch-ups there. But you guys see what I mean about repeating the color all around the figure? I'm also still out to lunch on this little bracelet. And the reason is that if I'm going to go with kind of a dark violet, like a purpley red, or a pink, or fuchsia, for these little tassel things in the scarf, I may want to repeat it again. Again, we're looking at repeating colors around the model. And the places that may get repeated are on this string of beads and up here on the flowers. Because her lips already have that color as a bit of a highlight. So that would give us a nice bounce around with all those colors. And then if I want to also make the owl's eyes that color, then that would also reinforce that repetition of colors. All right, so let's do this. Let's get this orange color and this purple color. And I'm going to have to put some water in them because they're getting a little thick. And I haven't even touched her sword yet. I'm just not even going to worry about the sword yet. It goes back here somewhere. Clicks in. Clicks in somehow. It may go that way. It may go this way. It probably goes this way. It can go any way it can fit. So it probably goes that way. And nestles up under her hair, which means this part of the blade is going to be out and extending to the side, which means it is going to have an impact. But I'm probably going to hold off deciding what that impact is until we get closer to done on the figure. Everything is very smooth on her skin, Crows. I haven't done smooth skin tones for a while, so I decided to do some super smooth a long time ago. And then I just am... essentially, after like 2 or 3 years, I'm picking this model up again for you guys. Just because we needed a monster to replace Rock Troll. I have plenty of monsters now, but my Reaper order was pretty late in getting to me, so... Besides, it would be nice to get her done. Alright, I have all my colors with 1 drop of water added. After about 45 minutes to an hour, you usually do see a bit of evaporation in your colors if you haven't used them for a bit. And you want to add a brushful or drop of water to keep them good. If you're working with the well palette like I am. And that's just kind of being conscious. If you have to, set an alarm. It's actually a pretty good idea to set the alarm and then do your stretch break and your paint resuscitation at the same time. Alright, we're using, yeah, back to the Da Vinci lately. I haven't picked up the Raphael for a little while. I seem to go back and forth on my brushes like this. All right, so we've got this orange color, which you can see a lot of it down here on the owl. So we know that orange color is going to come in pretty strong. I'm probably going to paint it over a lot of stuff and then just come back in and re-highlight with my yellow. Because I was just trying to get a feel for it before. So I know there's going to be a shadow under there. I know that I'm probably going to shade under each of these little coins, just like I did down there. Because you need to introduce some dark or you're not going to get a shiny effect. So we need to start working in some shadow. So quite a bit of orange goes to interrupt the yellow at this point. Yeah, who remembers to replace the batteries in their smoke detectors anyway? I only ever did it when it started freaking out. And that, of course, is always in the middle of the night, like you say. All right, let's see here. A little bit of shading. Shading, more shading. This one has a little gemstone or bead or detail. So again, just blocking in the orange a bit. Bringing it in so that we have something else defining our details. Then we're going to come in with an even darker shadow. I'm going to get those eyeballs. There. All right, so that's, as you can see, the first stage of this. So we're starting out. And then we go down to our purpley brown. Oh. Yeah, that makes sense, Grey Wolf. Makes it harder to figure out like when you're supposed to replace them, I suppose, unless you are like me and almost everybody else and you just wait till it starts like beeping maniacally at you and upsetting your dogs. My dogs would always get so upset about it. They were like, "Mama, it's doing weird things and it hurts our ears." It's definitely cause for alarm. They always hated the smoke detectors. Even though the smoke detectors also sometimes meant steak. They never managed to reconcile. They were like, yeah, steak is cool and everything, but this hurts my ears. Most likely cause of smoke detectors going off in my household is high heat cooking. Just taking in some of this very dark purple brown, and I'm going to start kind of outlining the features of the owl like I did down here. And I'll darken in the eyes so that I can bring them up in a different color. So that's starting to give detail to the face. Yeah, the one in our hobby room here is actually really sensitive also, Nomad. Like, whenever the slightest little bit of smoke comes out, I have to go and close the door to this room so that when we're cooking in the kitchen, it doesn't set off the one in here. Which it has done plenty of times. It's like if I'm sauteing something or browning meat. You can sometimes get just the slightest little whiff of smoke and then it's off. All right, so kind of lining with this dark purple color, essentially. Bringing in the details before we start doing highlighting and shading that is more oriented toward non-metallic metal. So you've got a nice face, just like there. And remember down here, we picked out all of these little bits around the eye. So we're going to do that with this dark color really quick. Although this is smaller, so it's going to be a little harder to get each of those to look right. Might just need to hit them with a tiny highlight. Yeah, bacon. Yep. Most of the time we manage to not smoke out the house with bacon, but David makes potatoes in the cast iron, fried potatoes in the cast iron for Saturday breakfast, and that will set off the smoke detector for sure. So we always have to... And then he puts hot pepper on it and maces us out of the house. I have to avoid the oven when he does it. Or the stovetop, I should say. Alright, so there we go. Now I'm going to go with this middle color, this middle purple brown. More of a bruisey color. And I'm going to bring that in here. To get some of these scales a little bit more defined without using a really dark color. See, because these guys are pretty defined. So the orange color ends up being more of the shadow, and the darkest shadow between scales and around scales is going to be the purple brown. And then the darkest purple brown is reserved for bringing out like tinier details for the most part, unless it looks weird, in which case then I'll change. I'm going to thin down this color. And use it a little bit. I want to... Yeah, we do, Valandar. I've gotten him to use ghee instead of butter. That improved it. But it still does smoke just a little. And we have ghee in the house because of Indian cooking. Tonight is a shrimp curry night. We're trying a new recipe. It's a weird one. It's kind of a... There's this French Indian fusion in one place in India that the French, you know, were used to inhabit. And so we're trying that weird fusion curry tonight. So it's like this synthesis of French and Indian flavors, which is going to be wonky. But I'm looking forward to it. Hey, I got to order preserved lemons for it, so... Yeah, it is. It is chemical warfare when you cook with hot peppers. Yeah, I mean, because you will pepper spray yourself out of the house. Oh, my Abby. Well, my Abby, 2 tips for you. Well, for one thing, do practice. Continue to practice. But when that happens, you have too much paint on your brush. That's almost always... If your color is going everywhere, it's probably not entirely your brush control. It's probably they've got too much paint on your brush. So when I'm highlighting these little guys, when I'm working with a thinned color, if I load up my brush, I only load up about a third of it. And then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 dabs off. I want to be able to draw a really thin, fine line. You can test it on your palette. You can test it on your fingernail to make sure that you can draw a really thin, fine line or dot without the paint going everywhere. That's number 1 tip. That's probably your main problem. If your paint is running everywhere, it is almost always that you're not unloading your brush enough. You have too much paint. Hi, other side. Yes. Well, guess what? I work for Reaper Miniatures, and this is our channel. So yeah, we're the miniatures geeks. And we're painting a genie right now. I'm doing her gold armor. I started it with yellow. She's got a little lamp down there. She's pretty cool. She's going, eh, eh, eh. She's not a genie you want to piss off. And now I'm coming back in and highlighting. Now, if you have thicker paint on your brush, you can get away with not unloading it as much, but you're still going to have better control if you do. And thicker paint on your brush is only going to stay viable for so long. like it'll start to dry in your brush. So usually if I'm using a smaller brush, I go for thinner paint. Even my thick paint is like 4-to-1 paint to water though, so you know, take me with a grain of salt on that one. But yeah, their side welcome. We are the mini painting hobby. We are a portion of the mini painting hobby. It's alive and well. Who knows, your brother might get back into it. We all tend to like go and like kind of fall out of the hobby, get back in the hobby. It's that kind of hobby. But yeah, it's a super fun hobby. A lot of people on this stream do paint stuff for D&D because Reaper puts out a lot of models that are compatible with it. I just paint for fun, for the most part. Tips per minute analysis of Anne's show. Oh my god. It's preserved lemons, Kroniko. I think they're pickled. It's like Mediterranean cooking uses it a lot, like Moroccan cooking. Alright, now I do need my white. Because you notice it looks shinier down here than up here. That's because I'm missing my white. It's probably going to go with purplish pink, because I'm probably going to repeat that color on these spaces I have not done yet, crows. And it's all about repeating colors. I really don't need any more colors on this figure. So like a lot of people would choose to like, oh, I can put another color in because flowers, but actually that would throw off everything. Because if I threw like a green or a just some other weird color in here that didn't go with everything else, it would stand out like a sore thumb and you wouldn't look at the appropriate place. So instead, whatever color I'm going to make these little tassels, I'm probably going to repeat up here, and it's probably going to be a reddish purplish pink, because that's what her mouth is. And it's also, if you look at my color scheme, it really is a red, yellow, blue color scheme. I've highlighted the skin with pink already. And then I've got this blue, and then I've got the gold counts as yellow. So red, yellow, blue. So I can switch that to being a purpley reddish pink, and that still counts as a red in the grand scheme of things. Oh, you tried to make the lemons? 2 pages so far? Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that I tip a lot. But really, a lot of the time I repeat information on this show, guys, because we have new people come in and out all the time. So I will repeat myself a lot. Don't worry if you haven't written down X tip from X day. I will at some point resuscitate it. And don't cheat by getting other people's tips. Like, don't ask your friend to, like, you know, just send you the tip. Because you know what? Writing it down helps reinforce it in your memory. So if you are not keeping your own notes, you're losing out. So I would highly encourage you, if you find this show useful, do just keep, you know, like a notepad open on your computer if you're working, or keep a little sticky note or something. Write down your tip of the day. But don't worry if you don't, because I will always repeat. There is so little that goes into good mini painting in reality, all y'all. Like so few techniques, so few fundamentals in reality. It seems like there's a lot more than that. But when it comes down to it, it's really not. Well, just grab the one you like the best, Max. All right, we're going to pop some of this stuff down here as well. But yeah, I'll always repeat myself. Don't worry about it. And writing it down also does, like, very little for you if you don't practice it. But honestly, if everybody just used less paint on their brush, and loaded their brush more cautiously, and paid attention to the width of their brush as compared to the thickness of paint they tend to like to use, and tried different kinds of palettes and brushes until they found the best one for what they do. Like, that's a lot of it right there. Very little paint on your brush, brush with a very good tip, thin your paint. Those are my 3 best tips for beginners, other than putting something on a handle, you know? And those 3 best tips are still the core of good miniature painting as far as I'm concerned. If you only work with trying to get a brush with a really good tip, put very little paint on your brush, unload it so you have even less paint, and thin your paint, right there, that'll get you pretty good mileage toward what you want to do. Then learning, you know, color theory and contrast and all that, the conceptual techniques, learning how light falls, those become a whole new thing then. But the basics are still the same, and there are very few of them. So I'm taking my dark browns purple now to kind of start working on this. Yeah, Shadow Raven, thanks for coming. Haha, Big Apple. Yeah, often I don't do all of the explanation on sometime on the NMM. But I mean, NMM is also a very simple technique, although it modifies by the surface you're doing it on. But the basics are that you figure out where your highest highlight is, and under that you usually have a shadow, and then you've got light reflecting back up from the environment underneath that. Because the light that doesn't hit your object is going to go down and bounce off something else, and it's going to bounce back up at the underside of the metal. So the contrast of the highlight and the shadow together, close together, relatively close together, creates the illusion of shininess, and the under reflection essentially creates the illusion of reflectiveness. Shiny and reflective are the 2 attributes of metal that you want to duplicate on the model in order to have it look like metal. Now, that said, keeping those principles in mind, figuring out your positioning for that stuff can take you a while. That's why I call it a conceptual technique. Meaning that just knowing how to do it hypothetically is great and all, but you have to really understand the concept of light and how it falls to get it to look like awesome. But this is something, again, that you want to experiment with, right? Don't just sit and stare at... Well, you can sit and stare at other people's NMM. Even better if you go and look at metal and how it actually reflects in your environment. No, Bryce, I don't. It's actually, some days the talk stream comes really easily, and some days I'm you know, I have to work a little bit harder at it. If I'm tired, then it's hard. But, no, when I'm painting by myself or just painting at night, like if David, like last night, David was, playing some WoW, but I've been limiting my WoW lately. I will put on my headphones. I've got those nice Bose noise blockers, and either put on an audiobook or, more likely, I put on music. So I was always more likely to just like sing when I was painting by myself. But now that David's here, I try to spare him. Yeah, it's all science, Big Apple. Like, the conceptual techniques are usually about how light acts, and that also has very few rules, all things considered. If you ever get to a con, take a class with my boyfriend, David Diamondstone. Take his OSL class, his other source lighting. And he explains it really well, I think, about light falling. He'll explain the rules that govern how light falls on a thing, and how to translate that to your miniature. There aren't that many rules. It's just, you know, I just think he does it very well. It's a class he's been teaching for a long time. And he also has this, like, that was his, I think that's his free card, like, light. He groks it, he gets it. So that's usually who you want. Somebody who totally gets it, who has great lighting on their own pieces. That's who you want teaching you about how to paint lighting. Crows and Bones, I either, when I'm painting, I have some upbeat song lists that are everything, like just tons. Everything from R&B to like 80s rock to folk music. Like seriously, I listen to the gamut. But I also have like an 80s playlist that I like because I am a child of that decade. And I have the other one I like is the oldies one, like songs my dad used to listen to. So 70s rock, essentially. Those two decades are like, you know, are good because they're upbeat. They're usually upbeat and happy, more or less. And that's, I want music that's going to keep me awake, essentially. Keep me like mentally alert as I sit up late painting. So I usually go for like upbeat stuff. David knows things. It's true. Yeah, it was nice to meet you, Other Side. Thanks for hanging out. You have a good day too. But yeah, I really like, I'm very into music. David's not, so I tend to listen to music if I'm not painting directly with him. If we're painting together, we put on an audiobook. We've been listening to a fun economics audiobook, if that makes sense. For those of you who cannot reconcile the fact that economics is fun, obviously you need to listen to More Planet Money. But we both find econ interesting, so now I'm just trying to get in a little bit of the reflectiveness. You know, I like that song, Trashrama, but there are songs I like better. There are a lot of good 80s songs, and a lot of my 80s is also alternative 80s, like The Cure and Hoodoo Gurus and The Smiths. I mentioned Kate Bush before, Sisters of Mercy. All the stuff that was playing on 120 Minutes on MTV when I was a teenager. Cool, Panthera. Yes, Planet Money is fun. It makes econ fun. Like I took economics in college just because I could. But you know, they really do a great job making economics interesting. All right. That's looking pretty okay. That little flower there. Yeah. Yeah, I listen to a lot of... Yeah, Video Killed Radio Star isn't on... I don't think it's on my playlist, but... My playlist is so long. My 80s playlists tend to be truly massive things. Oh, Sinead O'Connor, too. Howard Jones. Oh, boy. There's a lot. All right, cool. So yeah, we're getting her. She's becoming less overtly yellow. We're bringing in more gold, but it's still yellow enough to read as gold. Yeah, I had a mixtape of 120 minutes on. I didn't realize they had the episodes on YouTube. I should go back and remember all the songs I didn't have. I don't know. I'd have to look at least 4 hours. I think my playlist is. My average. Let's see here. Where's my 80s music? There it is. I was listening to it. Oh, I thought it would tell me how long it was. Oh, it will at the end. Yeah, 6 hours. I was going to say, I was listening to my 80s list all while we were fulfilling Kickstarter at Reaper. Oh, depressed mood for sure. Not a lot of Depeche Mode. Just a bit. I used to, when I was in college, I loved Black Celebration, though. It was a great album. Yep, Dave Kendall. I was not a huge Adamant fan. What do we got? What's our time at? Oh yeah, okay, so we can go a little longer. Just like 5 more minutes. But yeah, most of my like big like 80s lists are going to be like 5 or 6 hours long. And then some one-hit wonders like Mexican Radio, 99 Red Balloons, you know. Mexican Radio is just too fun of a song not to have in your playlist. There we go. New Order also. Always liked New Order. So just really lining around it, and then you just start filling it in, blocking it in, making it a little bit tighter. If you're doing, I guess I can do the circle one. Okay, so if you're doing a little sphere like this, you want to make, when you're painting a rounded surface, you want to make everything round, including the shadows and the highlights here. Boop. So let's block in a rounded shadow. It's kind of going to be the same shape as this little disc. And I'm going to wet blend the bottom just a little bit. Actually, my paint is drying super fast, so it's very hard to wet blend the bottom, but I'm getting there. And I have to figure out where my light is going to fall off the edge. I think I'm about right. So starting to block it in. I like Weird Al, but he's more on my upbeat. He's on a different mix. He's not on an 80s mix. I think I have Hardware Store on my general upbeat workout mix, because Hardware Store is a great beat for working out. I listened to a lot of Weird Al when I was a kid, though. He's a pretty cool dude. So I just need to separate that little disc from this tassel thing here. So I'm just going to do some quick lining on the tassel thing. When you've got all this detail like kind of glommed together, it's nice to just take your lining color, whatever it is. In this case, it's my dark purple brown, and kind of separate stuff out. Just make sure that you've got your little details figured out. Once you line, you could also just throw a wash over it, but then you lose a lot of your initial brightness of your base layer. So I don't always do that. I more often am tempted to line so that I still have my base coat. Mm-hmm. Oh wow, Violent Femmes. That's a blast from the past. Yep. Yeah, I like Dead Milkmen. I used to listen to them in high school. Though I think I like They Might Be Giants better than Dead Milkmen by quite a bit. I still have They Might Be Giants on my and I went to see them in concert twice. Whereas I've never seen the Dead Milkmen in concert. So I would say that I'm much more a They Might Be Giants fan. Boop. Now, one thing I'm going to run into is the fact that my base color is actually really close to, it's really close to white. So my white isn't as having, if I want my white to have more impact, I actually need to introduce more of this orange into my gold, which is why my gold is going more orange over here, is to provide that pop when I put that white on there to make sure that I am getting the contrast, right? Because this light yellow isn't giving me a lot of contrast with that white on its own. Yeah, They Might Be Giants have done Gen Con. That's one of... I saw them at there, and I saw them one other place. Back when I was much younger. Alright, so let's see. I need to put a little bit of a shadow up top here. Let's see, that might be a bit. Songs of Yesteryear. Alright. There we go. Just trying to blend this sucker and get it to a point where I like the color. I think my highlight's definitely gotten too bright, so I'm going to tamp it down a little bit and redefine some of this area. It can be very hard to do spheres. You just kind of have to muddle along and figure out, like, okay, that's reading a little bit better. And then we can pop that white like right around in there. All right, yep. It's about time to, oh, she's just, you know, she's coming along. She's not even half done, I'd say, JS, you're fine. Yeah, she has a lot of fun little details. Yeah, it is almost Sky Earth. I decided to make it shiny. And that's just how you vary your highlights. And your reflections. Like, how high are you going to bring it? And then a little bit more yellow. You never want your under reflection to be like pure white, but you want enough for it to suggest that there's light coming back up. Doing a lot of little spot wet blend. Yeah, green would be fun. Cookie. I just wanted to do something in Dawn colors. It's a color scheme I really like. And I don't get to use it very often. Doesn't make sense on a lot of figures, but it totally makes sense on this one. So there we go. That's a little bit cool. And then I might want to bring in a little bit more here. Yeah, that works. A little bit more of a shadow, I think, on the side. There. Sweet. Yep, I think we're good. All right, so Reaper Miniatures, who are we rating today? Disembodied Justin? Here, let's zap out so you guys can... There we go. So that's what we did today. We did a lot of... We got a lot of derailed about how to mix olive drab shadow and then weird paint tricks. Weird paint color tricks. And then we set up a lot more of Ashana's NMM Gold jewelry. Talked about like NMM a little bit indirectly. We're gonna be doing a lot more, so we're all good. Justin is sleeping. He's probably looking for a raid. So yeah, we'll be back. I don't know today, guys. On this afternoon, I mean, I haven't really had time to work on my D&D. I worked on my Patreon all weekend. So we'll see if I can throw something together for this afternoon on my own Twitch channel. Otherwise, those of you who have enjoyed this, I have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/paintingbig. Come on over and take a look. I have some free content, and then, you know, I have very low price tiers as well with a lot of paint info. Yes, Anne's Patreon. Oh, I don't remember. I think it's without the apostrophe. There you go. There it is. Thanks, Nomadzeek. Raid cancel? Yeah, I'm not seeing Raid is having issues. Oh, do we have to just end Reaper Miniatures? All right. Well, I'm going to go to my off screen, and then y'all can Reaper can tell me if they want me to just cancel it. So you guys have a fun time, and I will hopefully at least see you on. I'll be on this afternoon, whether I'm painting or doing D&D. It'll be something. I'll be there. Have fun, and thank you everybody for coming.